iPhone 7, 1 year later experience. That video is coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to my iPhone 7 1 year later experience. Now, I've been using this thing off and on for quite a while, and I know a lot of people are thinking, well, the iPhone 8's coming, why are you talking about the iPhone 7? And to answer that question simply, it's because people do wait for the newer phone to come out to buy the older phone, slightly older, prior flagship, and I've been doing this on the channel for quite a while. Now, I will be covering the iPhone 8 once it launches here, but I do want to share my extensive experience over 1 year using this phone. Now, first thing I noticed after a while is that the body and the build design has always felt very similar to the iPhone 6s. So with that being said, this phone has never felt like it was an incredibly modern, change design phone. It feels a little bit old and stale when it comes to its design. Now, of course, they changed the lines. They flipped them over a little bit here on the iPhone 7. And of course, it looks a little bit cleaner than the iPhone 6, if you ask me, in terms of its design. But overall, it is not the best design I have seen. And over my 1 year experience, I think that, it's still a very premium design. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it if they've never had a 6, a 6S, or a 7. But if you're coming from a 6 or a 6S, it's going to feel very similar. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this design a solid 7 out of 10, for iPhone 7 maybe. Now, in terms of display, that's another aspect that really hasn't changed much here on the iPhone 7 versus a 3-year-old smartphone in the iPhone 6. And I really don't know how Apple's gotten away with this for so long. But 326 pixels per inch, probably because their software is clean, very well optimized. But only 326 pixels per inch. I don't care about all that retina talk. I can see it. I can see that this screen does not look anywhere close to that of the AMOLED displays on competitors. It just doesn't. So if you don't feel the same way, that's okay. You might like LCD. Even this display doesn't look as sharp as LG's LCD on, like, say, the LG G6 or even the G5 for that matter. Those displays still look sharper than this display. Now, of course, P3 color gamut, this is very well accurate, so I'm not going to knock the display overall. It's a very bright display, and I think most users are going to be happy with it. But in my experience, this is not a display. I can't use this phone day to day because I just don't enjoy the display on this phone. But this is just me. I'm a reviewer of multiple phones. Not all of you guys, have the opportunity to view all these phones and use all these phones. And if you're just using this phone and you want a solid, clean display, this is definitely going to give it to you. But if you have had the chance to play with other flagship smartphones with, 1080p panels or even 2K panels, keep those in mind because those are options that you do have in this price point to buy an iPhone 7. Even when it gets reduced, there's still going to be a lot of phones that you can get with a better display than this. So keep that in mind. The iPhone 7 or 8 should change that with its OLED panels, but for now, that's my experience with the iPhone 7. I'm going to give the display a solid 8 out of 10, and I'm taking off 1 point for not being the sharpest display on the planet, and I'm taking off another point for being a very similar display for 3 years straight. I mean, that's just not acceptable, especially when you're talking about, the evolution of technology, how we're always trying to improve it, make it better, and this display just hasn't evolved much over 3 years ago in the iPhone 6. So that's my assessment on the display there. Now, let's talk about the software. This is an area where the iPhone 7 shines. iOS 11 is running on this guy. We will have iOS 11 official to the public in about a month or so, but the software has been really good here on the iPhone 7, one of the best in the industry. Some will argue the best in the industry. For me, it's on par with the latest and greatest version of Android, and it's a really good, operating system. It's very smooth, it's efficient, it has 3D touch, and this phone has just flew through the software like it's nobody's business all year long. Very enjoyable software, and that's one of the main reasons, across a 4.7-inch panel, having that power of the A10 CPU in here, as well as this liquid smooth software, that's where the iPhone 7 is still popular among many users, in my opinion. Also, even though I don't think the design is the most modern, they do have many color choices, which does make it very, it gets a little more personal to you because you can get a jet black, a matte black, a gold, a white, a silver, all the bunch, colors. So that keeps the iPhone 7 a little bit relevant, if you ask me. But overall, the software is killer on here. That's one of the main reasons why this phone is so popular, if you ask me as well. And on a software scale, I'm giving it a solid 10 out of 10. So if you care about software, this phone runs it like a champ, and it will be running it like a champ for years to come. So let's talk about the next thing, which is going to be the camera. So the camera on here is actually quite impressive on the iPhone 7. It could do 4K video, 12 megapixel. It's not a huge update over the iPhone 6s camera, but it definitely does a better job than the iPhone 6s. Really good camera here. You don't have dual camera. I don't think the dual camera setup on the iPhone 7 was that useful in my time using it, the 7 Plus, excuse me. But this camera right here is going to get the job done. It's going to take great pictures. I think you guys are still going to enjoy it. And I think the iPhone 8 is going to improve on this quite a bit. But at the same time, if you're buying this at a reduced price point, you're going to really love the camera on the iPhone 7. It can definitely do videos just fine, 4K. It can do slow-mo video very well. And it takes very natural color palette pictures. They're not going to be vibrant, super crispy pictures, but at the same time, they're going to be very clear, natural palette colors. So keep that in mind. I did do a full camera review on the iPhone 7, which you could check out. Link is down below in the description here. So let's talk about another area of my 1 year later, and that's the battery life. And here's an area that has disappointed me on the iPhone 7 when it comes to the battery life. The battery life on the iPhone 7 is not that good in comparison to its Plus variant. So the iPhone 7 Plus also offers much better battery life than the iPhone 7. Now, if you're coming from an iPhone 6, like I say, a 5S, this phone is definitely going to feel, pretty similar to what you've had before. I'm getting about 4 hours, sometimes less than 4 hours on screen time with the iPhone 7. Some people are going to argue that I get 5-6 hours on screen time, and it depends on what you do. I'm a heavy user, so for me, it's only clocking around 4 hours on screen time. It's actually decreased a little bit here on iOS 11, but that's a different story for another day. The battery life on the iPhone 7 over 1 year easily can get me through most of the day, but it's dying out about 6 or 7 p.m. So that's my assessment on the year-long battery. If you're buying the iPhone 7, keep in mind you might need yourself a battery pack or an external battery to go along with your purchase of this iPhone 7 here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is its performance. So the iPhone 7 does have an A10 CPU with 2 gigs of RAM, and its performance has been super solid, super quick. I haven't noticed much of a difference between it and its 3 gig of RAM counterpart, which is the iPhone 7 Plus. It's very hard to notice that. It's very slight, but I do think that with having 2 gigs of RAM, it's not as future-proof as the 7 Plus. So keep that in mind when you are going to be picking up an iPhone 7 at a reduced price. The 7 Plus is also going to be a reduced price as well, and that might make the purchase of a 7 Plus a little bit more enticing than this, because it does offer you more RAM at 3 gigs, which should run iOS a little bit smoother and faster in the long haul. So keep that in mind. Overall, though, performance right now on the iPhone 7 and over my year long, this has probably been the number one, maybe one or two. The OnePlus 5 is the fastest phone I've used so far. This is the second fastest phone I've used so far, even over the 7 Plus with its smaller screen. But like I said, with the 3 gigs of RAM, I don't want you to get confused. The iPhone 7 Plus will probably still support iOS a little bit better in the long haul with 3 gigs of RAM. But right now, the iPhone 7 seems to run the iOS a little bit quicker. Maybe that's due to the less than 1080p resolution here. I don't know, but it definitely is the second fastest phone I have used this year. So speed and performance is going to be no issue for you guys there. Now, in terms of storage, the storage has been another great thing about the iPhone 7. My storage capacities here for the iPhone 7 have been, I got the 32 gig, but I've played with a 256 gig this year as well. Super quick when you go ahead and you transfer these things over to a computer. It's very, very fast, and it's going to be very easy to transfer things from your Mac to your iPhone. If you don't do that, even transferring to a Windows computer, it's got very fast transfer speeds here for this iPhone 7. Definitely go with the 128 gig if you want an even faster experience. But what I'm trying to say is I find this phone to be faster than Android phones when it comes to transferring files over to your computer. And the calling and the texting, as a matter of fact, the calling on this phone wasn't the best this year. So it has great speakers, so it fires from the front and the bottom. But at the same time, I don't find the calling experience to be that good. It has dropped calls, and it doesn't sound that great through the earpiece in comparison to some of the other HD voice phones. So this phone is not the best phone, like the phone part of the phone, if you ask me. It's still going to get the job done, but for those of you who are, really talking on your phone all the time, I would look elsewhere when it comes to that. This is more of using all the features on the phone rather than just the phone. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, guys, so texting on the iPhone 7 has been great. This keyboard is about perfect in terms of its response times. It doesn't have, swipe functionality like that, but some would argue it's not necessary because of how accurate and really how good the auto suggest is here on the iPhone 7 keyboard. So the iPhone 7 keyboard is a solid 10 out of 10 if you ask me. So this is a great part of this phone. The calling, not so much in my opinion, but the texting definitely is pretty great here. So what are some of my other little things that I did enjoy about this phone over the year? Well, I really like this taptic button. You get used to it, and the old click button, the actual button on your old iPhones definitely feels a little bit like a dinosaur after using this one for a while. The taptic home button slash fingerprint scanner, second gen Touch ID, super quick on the fingerprint scanner speed as well. So no problem there. It fires right open with no issues, and it's one of the most accurate fingerprint scanners ever on any smartphone on the planet. Also, the IP67 rating here definitely gives you a little bit more peace of mind when going out in the rain and stuff like that. You're not going to see that. That's actually internal stuff. But anyway, that's about it here with the iPhone 7 for 1 year later. What are my overall conclusions? I think this is a rock solid smartphone. It really is. I don't want you to get the impressions that I don't like this smartphone because I said a lot of things about other phones being, a little bit better. I just think that, the larger iPhone 7 Plus was a much better choice this year over the iPhone 7, but this is a rock solid smartphone. And if you want a 4.7-inch smartphone with a great display, you want a great camera, this pretty much offers the package. Now, no headphone jack has been very annoying for me this year. A lot of people say, embrace the no headphone jack. Everybody has Bluetooth headphones. This is not true. I oftentimes find myself missing my lightning port connector adapter thing, and it's just a headache. It really is. So if you guys have Bluetooth headphones, this is not going to be an issue, but it's very easy to lose that little adapter. So I haven't liked that. But overall, rock solid smartphone here in the iPhone 7. Really, should you buy it after my 1 year later experience? And from my experience, I'd say yes, if you're going to try to get it at a discounted price, it's going to be a really great smartphone. It's going to support iOS for years to come. But if you're buying the iPhone 8, obviously this is not the phone for you. But this is for those people that are waiting to get a discount on the iPhone 7, and they're going to be getting an iPhone 7. If you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor, click the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel for more tech videos like this. Comments, questions, concerns, feedback, leave them down below. I will catch you all in the next one. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.